I'm going to tell you my precipitated withdrawal stories. Getting kicked into withdrawal in a second. Oh my God, did it suck. That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you my brutal experiences with that. Let's go. Remember, Soberdogs does not promote or condone any drug use. Please seek professional medical help if you have an addiction. Also, help Soberdogs out. If you want, go to Patreon, help support us, and hit that subscribe, that like, those comments. I'd really appreciate it. YouTube just demonetized and age restricted my crocodile video. I don't understand why, when Vice and CNN and SciShow and all these other channels got way more graphic images about crocodile and videos of people shooting it up, and my video just explaining it gets demonetized and age restricted. But if you can help me out, watch the video and maybe comment on it and show YouTube that it's just informative, I would really appreciate it, because I don't understand why they demonetize the small channels videos, but the big ones can put whatever the heck they want on there. So I've been put into whatever you want to call it, precipitated withdrawal on multiple occasions. And all the times it happened was when I was in active addiction, and I did it to myself, obviously not intentionally, but it was never at the doctor's. You know, I know that's happened to a lot of people. They go to the doctors to get Suboxone, get clean, and they don't wait, them or the doctor, whatever, doesn't wait the proper amount of time, or just underestimate it, you know. I've done strains of heroin where the high lasted 4 hours, and I've also done strains that had legs. Have you ever heard somebody say the saying, that had legs? What they mean is that lasted a long time. Addicts want stuff with legs because that means it's like, oh, that had legs, man. It lasted a long time. I've done heroin where the high lasted 14, 16 hours almost. And if the high's lasting that long, whatever they're cutting it with, that means it's staying in my body longer. So if I went to the doctor after doing a strain like that, we might have to wait 36 hours to start the Suboxone because it's just sitting in the system. What I would do when I was in the middle of addiction is, so maybe I'm getting high all day one day, getting high at night, and then get up the next morning. If I don't have money to get high, no drugs left, and I know, I don't really have any ways of getting money, but I'm in the very early stages of withdrawal, or maybe it's not fully happened yet, but I could know it's coming, take a Suboxone to, get rid of it or get normal. But now if I take it too early, like, all the science behind it, if you want to see, check out the other video. And, I'll explain all about how precipitated withdrawal happens, but real quickly, it kicks out the other drug in the brain and replaces it with the Suboxone. The Suboxone replaces it, the buprenorphine. So I would take a Suboxone, but yet that other stuff's still in my system from the night before. And it kicks out the other stuff and replaces it, but it's not nearly as strong, and immediately sends you into withdrawal. So I'm sitting there, got to go to work, know I don't have drugs left. All right, let me take a Suboxone for the day. Take it, probably, I don't know, it takes a little bit, like it takes a couple minutes, because the Suboxone, you put it under your tongue and it's got to, work in its system. I'd say probably like 8 or 9 minutes after I put it under my tongue, all of a sudden I am just like dripping sweat. Like I've been on the treadmill for an hour type dripping sweat. Immediately I knew, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. The first time this happened, I didn't know what was going on. So I'm dripping sweat, and then, boom, my stomach, my guts just, run to the toilet. And I'm sitting there, and I am sweating, and I am getting freezing cold, and I'm just totally don't know what is happening, total chaos in my body, losing my mind, and can't figure it out. I've said this in other videos, and I think it's a very accurate analogy. Like, imagine if, somebody pushed a button and your worst flu ever times 10, just all the symptoms came up immediately, not gradual, just boom. So I'm freaking out. I don't know what to do. That day, I end up calling in sick. I go back to my bed, I lay down, and I ended up falling asleep for a little bit, probably 40 minutes or so. I get up, and it is so much worse. Just, restless leg, puddles of sweat, aching bones, everything is just total chaos. I don't know what to do because I've never had that happen at that point. So I take another piece of Suboxone. That, ironically, about maybe 8 or 9 minutes into that one, I get another kind of burst of withdrawal symptoms. So I'm freaking out and take another piece. End up sitting there on my bed for about 30 minutes, just freaking out, sweating, totally in withdrawal, going nuts. And it finally started to subside, where that 30 minutes freaking out, and then the next 30 minutes, it slowly started to subside because, I'm sure all the Suboxone now was fully binding and kicking in. This is, almost 2 hours into taking the original one now. And it went away, gradually. It sucks. I've also had this happen once in college, and I did opioids, earlier in the day, and I don't know why, but we were going somewhere where I was going to be gone for a decent amount of time, like 10 hours. So I didn't do any opioids for probably, 14, 16 hours. And I could feel there's like this cold feeling where I know withdrawal is right on the horizon. So I say I'll take a piece of Suboxone before I go so that it was a party, something partying, so I'll be all right to party all night. So I take the Suboxone, everyone's getting ready to go, and the same thing. I walk out, I didn't take a whole one, I took I think a half that time. I walk out of my room, I'm dressed up, we're drinking a little bit, but, about to say everybody we're ready to go, and just all of a sudden, it's not hot by any means, and it's actually winter time out, and where I went to college was in the middle of the snow belt in Pennsylvania, so it's freezing, and all of a sudden I just could feel the back of my shirt and my pants are just puddles of sweat. And then it hits you like a wave of, you can't even, I couldn't even walk from where I was to the front door. Like all of a sudden it was like, just this ache and total demotivation. I don't know, I'm trying to think of accurate words, just crushed me. So I was like, hold on guys, I gotta go to the bathroom real bad, give me 10 minutes. So I run back in my room. At this point, it's a couple years after the first event, I kind of know a little bit about it. So I know that really at that point, the only way to get rid of it is more Suboxone. Because, the original Suboxone I just took kicked out those opioids that were still lingering in my system, but clearly was not enough to replace it and keep me at a somewhat equal state. So I go back in my room and immediately take more. Same thing as the first time happens. About 10 minutes in, I get hit with another wave of withdrawal, bad, and it hit like a ton of bricks. So I know that's probably not enough. It did the same thing that the original one did, but not enough to maybe kick everything out, and some still lingering, not enough to replace it. So I take more, a big amount, and I sit there for 10, 12 minutes, pretending I'm on the toilet, just sweating and freaking out. And then almost, I don't want to say immediately, but within a matter of 4 to 10 minutes, all of a sudden I slowly started feeling a little bit better. And then by the end of the 10 minutes, I could tell all the Suboxone had kicked in, kicked out everything else, finally was enough to replace it all, and I felt decent. And then, I say decent, not 100%, and then, did what I did during addiction and alcoholism, is, drank to kind of numb everything out. But I was up to a state of okay. I went to the party and I was fine, and I drowned it out with alcohol. I wasn't in withdrawal anymore. But precipitated withdrawal sucks, and anytime anyone gets Narcan when they're overdosing, that's what precipitated withdrawal is too. The Narcan kicks all of it out and they wake up miserable. So that's my story on precipitated withdrawal, stories I should say. It sucks, but it can be avoided by just waiting a good amount of time. They say at least 24 hours to take, you know, your MAT med, your Suboxone, Sublocade, after your last opioid use. Wait till you're in mild withdrawal symptoms. All right? Hey, check out the other video on all about the science of precipitated withdrawal if you didn't see it already, and all the other Sober Dogs videos. All right? K Ruggs, the Sober Dog, and I'm out. See ya.